Their studio in South Florida, Twist Gaming. Featuring lead broadcaster, Matt Koza. Co-host and creative genius, Josh Perry. Co-host and interviewer extraordinaire, Ann Lazito. Co-host and marketing mogul, Aaron Murphy. With appearances from special guest, Lucy. Welcome to Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us.
Like I said, this is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us. I'm Matt.
I'm Ann.
I'm Josh.
And this is our first impression session of our Spotlight stream, where we talk about our favorite aspects of the game we just played, any constructive criticisms we had, and the most important question of the evening of would we play the game again. And tonight we had the pleasure of showing off Mystery Surviving the Nightmare World by Greenbrier Games, which is coming soon. Kickstarter's coming in October.
October 2nd.
So, Josh, first and foremost, what kind of game here is Mystery Surviving the Nightmare World?
So it plays 3 to 5.
Okay.
It's an asymmetrical game.
Yep.
Where one player plays as the heroes and all the other players play as villains. The heroes are trying to make it through 3 days of hell with the villains.
The 3 days of darkness, I believe that they referred to it as.
Any convention, basically.
Yes, there you go.
And then the villains each have their own special, unique win condition.
Right, and
as well.
Basically the villains are doing villainy demon things, and the heroes are trying to save as many of the people as possible, prevent the heroes from winning. So they're trying to survive. Yeah. Not necessarily win, just survive.
So there's it's a card game. There's some hand management in the game, especially for the hero. And then there's a couple locations, so there's a little bit of a kind of worker placement where you want to have your heroes protecting against these villains and stuff. And we have innocents that are at these locations that aren't so innocent that they can protect themselves.
If you're there to help them, it helps out, you know.
I mean, yeah, but they can hold their own. They're not completely helpless. So it goes on. So the person playing the hero is going to play the number of heroes as there is villains. So I was playing 2 heroes. So if we were playing a 4-player game, the hero would play 3.
Right.
And so on and so on. And then you kind of alternate turns between villains and each hero, per se.
Gotcha. And then you resolve at the end after everyone has placed all of their items on the board and resolved all their turns.
Yeah. So we played our game. It actually ended at round 3 because Anne hit her victory condition.
Yep. So we got about halfway through a full-length game, if you will, that the hero would need to survive through. So, and played it a little fast and furious. And so Josh spoiled it because typically we go and we ask favorite aspects of the game from the winner. And as Josh said, this was Anne this evening. And congratulations. What were some of your favorite aspects of the game?
I was most interested in this game because it is based off of the comic book series. So I'm really, admittedly, I haven't got an opportunity. I know a little bit about the comic book series, but I haven't been able to sit down yet and read through it. But I absolutely love the fact that there is, it's not just the game, that there's going to be a story. I have the story now, so I probably, actually, when I go home tonight, I'm going to start delving through. And I think that when you have a story behind a game like this, it adds so much more depth to what it is that you're doing. I think that's ultimately my favorite part of this game overall. I really liked being introduced to all of the different characters as we were playing the game. I liked the challenge. So when you first introduced this game to me, you said, hey, it's kind of a one versus many game. And I was like, okay, so you and I are going to team up, and then Josh is going to have some, beefed up kind of character to come at us. And as Julie was explaining how to play the game to me, and I think we were on like one of our first rounds, we were discussing, okay, you've placed minions, and this will make more sense if you guys have seen the playthrough, but you've placed minions and I've placed minions. How does that work with the innocents that are there protecting the location? And that's
really
when it
we're
hit
just
home.
fending for ourselves.
Yeah, and that's when it hit home that we're fending for ourselves. Like, we are each villains, but not only do I need to at that particular location, put down enough fight power that I can overpower the innocents, but I also need to put down enough fight power that it exceeds what you're capable of doing.
Right.
So it's not co-op. I mean, there's some things that we can do that will benefit each other,
right.
but it's very much so. I wouldn't consider this a co-op game at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those are my main points home.
I really love the greed, hope, resource opportunity there where it flips back and forth. So one of the main ways that you're doing things in this game is off of greed if you're the villain and hope if you're the hero. And so you're spending greed to recruit minions, to play minions both face down and face up, and possibly do some other actions on your actual villain themselves. But the interesting thing is, so there's 4 cards that are face up, and they vary in value between 1 and I think I saw 5 for the greed. And that gives you the opportunity to use that as a type of currency, if you will, to buy these actions. But when you use it, you flip it over, and then it becomes hope that the hero gets to use. So the more greed you spend, the more currency you spend, the more you're giving your opponent to have on their turn. So it kind of forces you to think if it's beneficial for you to even do what you want to do. And so sometimes it's a 1-for-1, 2 greed to 2 hope. And then sometimes, if Josh could find me an example there.
I think he's going through. It's not common,
right,
this situation.
So this is a small example here. So this is a 1 greed that flips to a 2 hope. And I believe we had some before that was 2 greed to 4 hope, 2 greed to 5 hope even, maybe.
What?
This is a 1 greed to 3 hope. So I thought that was a really neat aspect there, and the fact that you don't know how much hope you're prospectively giving to the opponent, it forces you to kind of play a little bit more conservatively.
It kind of gives you that push your luck mechanism feel.
Absolutely. So I thought that was a really nice aspect to it. I'm a huge fan of individual player powers and asymmetric powers in the game, so I really enjoyed that, and I thought that it was super creative to have it be a 1 versus many where the 1 is the hero, because so often you see the 1 versus many be there's one big bad, and all the heroes are going after them.
Right.
But in this, you're playing the almost underling villains, and you're trying to sort of cooperatively team up, but not really against the main hero. There is multiple heroes that the person's playing as, depending on how many people are playing villains, but I thought that was an interesting way to handle it. Have it the one person be the heroes, and that kind of does give you more of the horror sense, the sense of dread, if you will, versus the typical let's all band together and take out this dragon or something like that, you know what I mean?
We don't take out dragons. Dragons are friends, not food.
So that's a lot of the aspects that I really enjoyed about the game. Josh, how about you?
I like the asynchronous aspect between the villains and the heroes, and it was really, for the hero player, it's very challenging to, because I have to survive. That's easy, but it's also I have to prevent you guys from winning.
Right.
Which, at the same time, you kind of also want to prevent each other from winning.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting mechanic there of, if Matt sees Anne's going to win, and maybe I don't even see it, Matt might want to play his turn differently to
be a little bit more
thwart Anne.
Yeah.
Which means I don't necessarily have to
be concerned about that.
Be
you
concerned about it,
or
depending on what's happening.
Right.
And it makes it very interesting. And then each hero and each villain have their own unique powers. Not even just one unique power; they all have 2 powers. At least the heroes do. I wasn't sure about the villains.
Yeah, they do as well. So I'll show off my card, for example. So I had Brian here. Brian looks like your everyday crazy person.
Demon priest.
But so his ability is to pay 5 greed to look at the top 3 cards of the minion deck, place 1 at Brian's location face down under his control, and then discard the rest. Now when I flip him over, so that's Brian's true form.
He looks
Business
so
Brian.
good.
Pay
Such a great
4 greed, so I reduce the greed cost by 1, but I'm placing just the top card of the minion deck at Brian's location face down. So I don't get the choosing ability, but it is a little bit cheaper on my end to play it. So that's the 2 different versions of mine. I don't know about yours. Ann.
Mine was that I get to pay 4 greed to take control of an innocent that's at my location, but in my true form, so good. I only have to pay 3 greed to gain control of an innocent at the location.
Okay. So again, delving into the individual player powers, but it's multiple player powers per.
Well, and those player powers all kind of go toward the win conditions. So another thing to mention is that we all have different win conditions.
Right.
So while you're trying to survive through the time,
he's trying to manage what win conditions are in the game right now
Right.
and preventing them from winning. And so, as Dirk was saying during our spotlight, this game does have a high replayability since all of the villains have a unique win condition as well as unique powers, and all the heroes have unique powers as well as unique kind of like their resources in order to fight. So one of the things with the heroes is...
That's a villain?
Yeah, that's a villain. It has these for the showdown here, and these are going to get refined, I believe. So this shows how they have to spend their... I can't think of the name
Cards.
of the cards, yeah. But so what's the first one? Charisma, right?
yeah.
So charisma,
Or
magic, and fight. But so they have to spend them in that order. So the heroes actually are going to play slightly differently, and that's up to you to manage your resources appropriately for that. So I thought that was interesting as well. One thing we do have to make note of is the art for the game is really pretty. And again, we don't have 100% final assets. We're playing with the prototype version today. But obviously this coming from a comic book, the art's super pretty in the game.
And all of the different artists, they were saying that all the artists that helped collaborate with this project are artists that originally worked on the series.
Right.
And
And
it's all unique art for the game, not rehashed.
from the comics
book.
themselves. Yeah, it's not just copy-pasted from the comics. One thing I want to make note of with iconography-wise is this was amazing. I
Yeah.
did not recognize this until Julie said something, but it's awesome. So this, it's see-through. It's technically yellow, the bottom of the M. But if you look, it's kind of like an arrow. And when you play this on the location, you point this to the player that played it. And so that allows you to basically keep track of who played what minions. And that's just a nice little touch that I thought was really cool.
Greenbrier's always really good at paying attention to the details in a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought what was really neat, if you want to go back to the iconography, and this goes more to the art than the usage of the art, really, is that on the back of the cards, it's all... That's really terrible.
Yeah, it's green screening
Sorry,
quite a bit
guys.
because this is a yellow stripe down the middle.
But all of the cards on the back, like, they have this really cool comic book scene, but then the letter that represents the card, like the C is charm, the F is fight, the M is magic, is all kind of...
It's definitely got that comic book transition.
Oh, there's H for hope.
transition
and G for greed.
feel to it. I quite like that. Yeah.
I like the look of that.
All right. Any other things that y'all want to talk about before we go into our constructive criticisms?
No, I mean, I really wish that we had been able to incorporate the individual. As we're talking about all the things that have individual pieces and kind of put something special into these locations, or into this game. The locations themselves can play with as just plain locations, or you can play them with special powers depending on what's going on in your game. So, for example, you got to play Brian, and Brian's ability was, if we had this location in the game, so for this location, your minions could have moved to and from that location for free.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And then at this location where Mr. Rhee has -1 fight and Faust has +1 fight at this location. So, Josh was only playing with Mr. Rhee, but maybe he picked Mr. Rhee and not Ganon, but Faust for the next turn. Then the game's something
Faust is
completely
actually
different.
a bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Who was not in the game? Same thing. If he was in that location
And
or in
there's
the game. Several other locations.
6 more locations.
Oh, there's
you
an
can
ice
play with.
cream shop.
Oh, that's adorable.
Dirk's Perk. Buzz's Garage. Pikmin's Tavern. Oh, there's my
Look.
little buddy. My little buddies are at the ice cream shop. Oh, they're green skinning.
Oh.
That's terrible.
Dumashan Sweet Treats Ice Cream Shop. Children cannot be moved from this location because they like ice cream too much. All right, so constructive criticisms portion. This is where we talk about any aspects of the game that we might change if given the opportunity. And again, this is based off of 1, our personal opinion, and 2, the fact that this was our first playthrough of the game. So hence why we call it the first impression session. So I'm going to start us off with Josh. Josh, is there anything that you would change about this game if you were given the opportunity?
So I know this will probably be added to the game since we have a prototype. I really would have liked a quick reference guide.
Yeah, I'm going to have to echo that a lot. I think that we've become so used to using quick reference guides as well, but it would have been really nice to have that just to reference quickly.
And I'm sure Julie and them will add, like every other Green Bar game I could think of has a quick reference guide. So
Right.
it would be there. I would also like to see a quick reference guide of all the win conditions for all the villains. Because I forgot what your win conditions were, and it would be nice to be able to say, "Oh,
that would be nice for
this is what." And I think it would actually be for every player because the other villains want to know what the other villains' win conditions are.
That makes sense.
Would be a nice to have.
Absolutely, as well as the designation between day and night in terms of the favorability for the hero and the villain, what exactly that meant. That just a little thing like that.
So. Be nice. I don't have the rule book in front of me. I have it over there. I left it over there. That was the more bigger things was because I forgot what your win conditions were. You kind of mentioned them at the beginning, and my short attention span just was like, okay, I need to survive. The other thing was I didn't realize the charm thing. Like if that was on the quick reference guide, I would have bought more charm first. I didn't buy any charm.
So you were kind of stuck with
I was kind of stuck not being able to recruit people because of that.
Well, the recruiting people
I'm really
turned out to be
happy
your
that
demise.
you recruited people.
But I would have been able to recruit more people to hopefully keep you out.
That's how we would have won.
Hopefully. Who knows? So, yeah, that was the one little thing. And, that's my biggest is having some quick reference guide. I read through the rules. I know the prototype that it's a pretty long rule book for what it is. And I don't know if it's because I was trying to digest both the villain and the hero part at the same time. Because there's a spot that says, "Oh, this is if you're playing villain, read this. If you're playing the hero, read this." And I kind of read both, trying to just understand the confusion there. It's a work in progress, so I'm not going to hit it for that, and I'm sure it will get worked on.
So for my personal take on this, I think that this game is definitely one that benefits off of multiple plays.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the game, and I really personally didn't feel like I was gaining traction into what to do until probably the end of the first night phase, so 2 rounds into the game. Unfortunately for me, the game ended on the third turn, the third round rather. So I didn't get an opportunity to start putting together a master plan. And that was, I mean, it's understandable just because of the nature of your character especially. But I would have liked to have... I would like to try this again to see a little bit more in-depth feelings on it. Also, my villain ability, and I think yours as well, they don't happen until you're actually on the board itself, and you only get on the board by taking over a location, which is when you win a fight. And I didn't get to use... I felt like that was later in the game than I would have hoped for, but I can see that this is very much a ramp style of play where it kind of starts out slower with the hero able to manage what we're doing, and then we get to an inflection point where all of a sudden he's struggling to keep his head above water.
You guys also played very passively the first round.
We did.
Well,
that's very true.
And I think I'm going to echo both of you guys and say that this is a game that if you back it, expect to really get the right feel for it on the second or third play. And I think that it's designed that way intentionally. You've got so many moving pieces here that, look, I'm going to echo you completely. On the first round, I wasn't sure what to do, how to play, what the strategy is, because there are so many moving pieces, and I'm not really sure how things are going to plan out. And to tell you honestly, the fact that I won the game was a fluke. I didn't even realize that's what was going to happen. I happened to be able to chain up some of the minions. That was another one of my favorite
You
parts.
did very nice with the combos. Like,
Yeah.
the combos worked out very nice, and I like seeing that in the game as well, that there were cards that are
That
very
chain-
meant to
yes.
synergize with each
Yes.
other like that.
And I think that, but me too, like I got on the board and won, but it would have been cool to see the other things that would have happened, like getting into the player ability and
Right.
whatnot. I mean, I'm not complaining that I won.
I mean,
3
neither one
rounds.
of us was able to transform our villains,
Right.
so that's one thing to keep in mind.
But I think that maybe a second round or a third round, now that I kind of see what's going on, maybe it would be a longer game because I feel like you would know what's going on too.
Yeah.
And so this isn't a negative. It's something I want to point out. This game is deceptive. It's a card game, and there's not a huge number of cards in it, and there's no physical board. But this game is pretty meaty.
Yeah,
Like there's
yes.
a lot of stuff going on.
Yep.
And that's what I mean by it being deceptive. Is that there's
It's not a simple card game. And
Right.
this is not a gateway game. This is a
No.
game that, and I guess that if we could segue into,
would you play it again?
would you play it again?
Mhm.
I would play this game again. I think that the game is built for replayability, and I'm really excited to go home and read the story and come back and play it again and get the idea of the story behind these characters. I know Julie and the Greenbrier team put a lot of effort into trying to make sure that the essence of the characters match with the comic book, which is something that's really commendable when you're protecting somebody's IP like that. I would not play it with new gamers. This is definitely a game that I would bring to I would play with somebody who's used to playing. I was really happy that Josh played the hero because
Yeah.
I think out of the three of us, Josh is definitely the most experienced gamer, and that's saying a lot because I feel like we're all kind of pretty experienced, and I feel like the hero character
Is more
super
difficult.
complicated. Or yeah, maybe not super maybe
It's
super
more
complicated.
difficult.
It's definitely. I think that's where you would want your. I think it was a good challenge for you. I think that there are some games that you play that don't provide you with the challenge that like a game should.
Definitely
That
more
was
What's the
the-
handicap you gave it?
Definitely more stressful is what chat's saying, and I could definitely see that. I'm gonna echo a lot of what you're saying there. This is not what I feel is a gateway game, and again, it's a game you're gonna want to get multiple playthroughs of before you feel comfortable, and that's one of the reasons why I definitely do want to play it again. Is that I see that there's a lot of meat and a lot of even just depth to the game itself, especially linking over to the comic books. And I love the fact that there's quote-unquote, like you can't really call it supplementary material, but they could be treated as supplementary material to the game. And it's this whole universe, and this is just a snippet of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really cool because it provides a rich lore and backstory and immersion factor into the game itself. And I want to go home now and read the comics and kind of get an understanding, because as we're playing the game, Dirk and Julie are both saying, oh, well, this character you'll see is more like this, and everyone's got a story, and I
Yeah.
think that that's really cool. And it's a game that I might not have had my favorite time playing the first time, but as I play more, I am going to appreciate more. I could see myself appreciating more of the nuances down the road in this. And it's got a lot of the checkboxes checked for stuff that I like to see in a game, with the individual player powers and the asymmetrical playing and even the artwork and stuff like that. So getting the final version and playing it a few times, I'm very excited for that. So yes, I would play this game again.
Yeah, I definitely play this game again. Just to get a better I feel like next game I would play a lot differently.
Mhm.
And I'd be very interested to also play as the villain.
Yeah.
And see that side of it too. Just because of it is a very different feel, and
Well, I think it would be fun to play as the hero.
and with everyone with their own unique win condition that you have to kind of counter against, it makes it very different.
Right.
And you have to worry about that from both sides. If you're
Absolutely.
hero or villain.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely play this game.
All right. So are there any other points, Anne or Josh, that you would like to make?
This comes on Kickstarter October 2nd. And is running all through October.
I wonder why
So make sure you
October.
go.
And thank you again for Julie and Dirk for coming in and hanging out with us
And
to
having
do our
a
playthrough.
real awesome time.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
So finally, one last shout out to Greenbrier Games and Mystery Surviving the Nightmare World for sponsoring this stream and all of this week's streams. But signing off for now, I'm Matt.
I'm Ann.
I'm Josh.
Thank you all for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you for all of our upcoming streams. Good night, everyone.
Good night.